Welcome back to the Brush Street Benchwarmers podcast. My name is Adam Den. Michael Kormelos is here with me. Ethan Leviditis, unfortunately, unable to join us. He has some actual college schoolwork to do. Imagine having that. Can't.
Imagine.
Yep. But we are here on an incredible Monday night to talk some football. It's been a pretty, awesome first couple of weeks, and we just wanted to get in here and give a breakdown of a lot of these games that we've been studying throughout these weeks. Just, after all of our team previews, how have things shifted over 2 weeks? How have things not? So I'm incredibly excited. And I think it seems like you are too.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love football. I think football is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Between the NFL and college and even high school football is fun to watch for me. So, because I played. So,
yeah,
it's great. I love it. Should we start with Philly?
Where do we want to start?
Start with Philly.
We'll start with Philly. The Philadelphia Eagles. It was bad. That's how you want to start?
Bad. Your defense, your secondary is a problem.
The Philadelphia Eagles defeat the Minnesota Vikings 34-28. Not the finest performance. I will give you that.
You let Kirk Cousins show out in primetime.
I think there are encouraging things to take away. I think there are not encouraging things to take away. So I'll let you start.
I think the encouraging thing to take away is, Jalen Hurts looked a lot better, at least throwing the football. He's still a little hesitant running the ball, but I think teams are just starting to crack down on him more. Devontae looked awesome. That Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown connection really just isn't working right now. Not really sure what's going on there. And then the run game was great. DeAndre Swift kind of had a breakout game finally. Going into the season, I just assumed he would be a running back one. He's awesome. He's really good, but that just didn't happen week one. I don't really know why. What I thought was going to happen, I didn't think he would go for 175 yards, that touchdown. But with Gainwell out, I was like, okay, well, this should be a moment where DeAndre Swift really embraces as a quality game, maybe like 80, 90 yards. But I was wrong. He had a lot more than 80 or 90. Your punt returner is a problem. Brendan Covey's pretty bad at football. Your defense, the defense is ugly. The secondary is a serious problem. You let Kirk Cousins throw for 364 yards on primetime TV. That's pretty bad. Justin Jefferson kind of defeated the I can't play against Darius Slay reverse. He went for 11 receptions for 160 yards. It should have been a touchdown, but he fumbled, so it's not a touchdown. And Jordan Addison had a really nice catch downfield. TJ Hawkinson was cool, and then KJ Osborne was just wide open in that one play. That was bad. But we all have a lot of injuries in the secondary too, so once James Bradbury is back and fully healthy again, Darius Slay won't have to cover the whole field by himself.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway, to start defensively, it is obvious the problem that the linebackers and safeties represent over the middle of the field, even when.
Yeah, I didn't mention that.
Yeah, I would love to have
it was bad.
But it's really bad. Well, you kind of did in referencing TJ Hawkinson. Anyone legitimately with any kind of tight end or an ability to separate over the middle of the field, it's going to be a serious problem if their plan is to roll with Nicholas Morrow and and Zach Cunningham as starting linebackers. It's just bad. And Cunningham actually really didn't even have a bad night. He had a couple good pass rushes. He was okay in coverage, and then that back end, like you're saying, with Edmonds, with Justin Evans, it is just the depth is not there. Now I know Howie has never really valued either of those positions in a substantial way, but this is where you look at the deadline and you have to say this is a problem. We need to fix it. I don't know what the Devin White situation is in Tampa Bay. I don't know what the Budda Baker situation is in Arizona, but it's huh?
Budda Baker's on IR right now.
On IR?
Yeah, they just put him on today.
Okay.
And then I don't know. Devin White should probably stay in Tampa if
Probably after. I mean, we'll get into them later, but eventually they're awesome. Yeah. And then on the other side of the ball, I mean, offensively for what they've been able to do we're able to do on the ground, it's just absolutely incredible. We know this is probably the most talented, when healthy, offensive line in the league, and their ability to just completely control the line of scrimmage against a defense that I thought didn't play horrible for most of that game. I mean, I thought Brian Flores is, he took the Belichick cover one that we know has been used to stop the Eagles, I mean, the Colts used it that 1 week a couple weeks ago. I mean, last year, New England used it week 1, and he just took advantage with the blitzes and said, you're going to have to beat us one-on-one and have the time to get the ball out. And for the most of the game, they really didn't. I know you said it was a better Jalen performance, but I still don't think Jalen lived up to really, what we come to expect from him. I disagree with the AJ thing. I think there's that 40-yard AJ bomb that was pretty obvious PI that if that comes back, I think we're dealing with a different narrative there. But I think it all comes down to Brian Johnson, the lack of creativity within the offense. And that's something that's, really hard with a first-time play caller, really difficult to just thrust him into a team that's supposed to be an automatic Super Bowl contender and just say, hey, fix everything. And it's really tough to watch Shane Steichen in Indianapolis with the creativity of that offense now, and you're like,
yeah,
what do we do here? But I think he'll get better as the season gets on. And I also don't think Sirianni is necessarily a bad play caller if that's the scenario that they're being thrust into. I know he struggled at points throughout his rookie season as a head coach, as a play caller. But I would like to
he had his moments
some way. Huh?
He had his moments the other night.
Yeah.
But
yeah. It's just, I think it's a continuous growing process. It's a very different football team, and you just can't replicate some things,
Definitely not.
Yeah, so I think they'll be okay. I think it just, they need these 8 days. I'll say that.
Oh, no.
What?
J. Gardner Johnson tore his pec in Sunday's game.
He out for
indefinitely.
That
sucks. That sucks for them.
That Lions defense is so fun. That's awful.
Lions team is so fun, man.
Yeah. But on a Minnesota side, yeah, I mean, it's just tough with the talent defensively. I mean, again, I was encouraged by the Flores play calling, but if you don't have the dudes to run that defense, it really just doesn't function.
Yeah.
So that's really tough. And then offensively, I mean, they figured out how to attack the middle field in the second half, but it just
that's that comeback.
Yeah, the run game just without it, that offense is so one-dimensional, and I know, they need to shave some cap for Dalvin Cook, but Mattinson is legitimately a bad NFL running back. I mean, he is terrible. I don't know when they turn to Ty Chandler, if that's the next scenario, but it's like it's bad.
It is bad. It's rough. They should have paid Dalvin.
Yeah, they should have. And the offensive line is bad too.
Yeah.
So it's
that man Kirk Cousins takes a beating every time he's on that field.
Yes, he does. I mean, from the 2 games I've watched of Kirk Cousins, I thought he was really, really good on Thursday night, and I thought he was okay against Tampa. So
I thought he was really good against Tampa.
Really good? I don't know.
I thought he was solid. I mean, he had a really high completion rate.
Yeah, I thought in the 4th
50 yards.
But I don't know. I think, it's really funny because you go into next week, you've got that matchup between the Chargers and the Vikings, and I'm sure we'll get into it next week, but that is such an interesting matchup for so many reasons, with I'm sure the disappointment that's coming out of both of those franchises right now. For them to face each other at 0-2, it's just a crazy matchup. So that's the one that's circled on my calendar probably for next week, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So you want to talk about your Texans?
Yes,
I know you do.
Colts have defeated the Houston Texans 31-20. in my opinion, what was a somewhat promising performance in some ways and a really, really ugly performance in other ways. We really just couldn't stop the run. I mean, we let Zach Moss run all over us. Anthony Richardson, obviously, there's 2 big touchdowns early in the game, and that was really it. Brandon Richardson, he obviously went out with a concussion. We didn't do a bad job in the secondary. The secondary was good as always been. Only allowed 220 yards, passing. It was a lot of short game and midfield passes for Gardner Minshew. They didn't really trust him with the offense that much. But my biggest thing coming out of this game is C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins looked awesome. I mean, Stroud threw for nearly 400 yards. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
It's beautiful. I agree.
Nico Collins was awesome. He went 7 receptions, 146 yards and a touchdown. I mean, and he had like 59 yards. I think the stat is above expected yard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the yak was awesome.
Yeah.
Robert Woods and Tank Dell both were pretty solid too.
Tank Dell, man. I was not high on Tank Dell, but after watching Sunday, Tank Dell is going to be a really fun, explosive guy.
Awesome. 7 receptions, 70 yards, and a touchdown. I like our tight end play. I love Dalton Schultz, even though he's not making as much as an impact, on the Texans as a receiver. He's been making a better impact, blocking. Something he wasn't great at in Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. So it's nice to see these improved. And then I think Jordan.
Yeah.
It was obviously encouraging to see John Mechie play after, fighting cancer, to go in there and get his first NFL catch. It was a really good catch. So, went for 17 yards, but it's just the O-line right now. I mean, and it's not really their fault. I mean, they've had 4 out of the 5 guys that came in expected to be starters in training camp are out.
Yeah. Well, I would argue the secondary too. I mean,
the secondary was the only good part of the defense yesterday.
What, Minshew throw for 200 yards? Richardson probably for 150 himself.
Richardson threw for 50 himself.
Okay.
It was Minshew went for 170. Richardson went for 50.
Yeah.
It was 220 yards total, which isn't bad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They did what they needed to do. They shut down, Michael Pittman. Only had 56 yards.
Okay.
It was whatever. But I mean, the problem is, I just said Tunzel's out. Kenyon Green obviously out for the year. To get Josh Jones as a replacement. He hasn't been great. I don't know what's going on with center. Juice Scruggs, out this week. The only consistency we've had there is at right guard, Shaq Mason. He's been awesome. So, I mean, and there are promising pieces on the D line. Obviously, Will Anderson's been awesome. Jonathan Grenard was awesome last week. The interior D line's terrible. They're gospel. Sheldon Rankins is fine, I guess, but everybody else sucks.
Yeah.
That's the nicest way to say it.
Yeah. It's just
Titans. I mean, not the Titans. The Colts defense looked fine.
Yeah.
I mean, their secondary is awful, but they really stopped the run game. But we just Damian Pierce nowhere to run. He has no one to run behind. 15 carries for 30 yards. I think 5 of those carries ended up with him behind the backfield. With just blitzing linebackers, no one picking him up. It was really rough to watch.
It's just tough to operate when, look at the time of possession. I'm pretty sure it's dominated by Indianapolis. It's hard, when you can't control either line of the football and you can't run the football to really, play any role.
Yeah, Indianapolis had 35. We had 25.
Yeah, exactly. So, the massive difference of that is I was really encouraged by Stroud. I agree. I think his ability to get the ball out quickly within that offense, despite the pressure coming upon him, his accuracy. He's pretty much translated the best I could have hoped out of college, and I was not sure that he was going to translate that way because of your offensive line, and he's done exactly that. I'm so happy for him. And I think the defense will adjust. I think it was, a tough week, obviously, that Shane Steichen and, the two-dimensionalness of that Colts offense, three-dimensionalness of that Colts offense. I thought it was awesome. I think they're a really fun football team. I actually think, maybe they could have the opportunity to contend, in the AFC for a wild card spot. If
the Colts or
the Colts? The Colts.
Yeah.
We're looking at this picture now, and the Bengals are sitting at 0-2, and they look kind of, broken. That we don't know what's up with the Chargers, the Ravens.
The Bengals have started 0-2 the last 2 years.
So. Yeah, I know.
Broken last year, broken through 5 picks week 1.
I know, and again, you don't want to overreact, but for them to come in and give the performances they have against a really solid, obviously, Jacksonville team, and then just to, pretty much dominate you throughout the entire game, I think that's encouraging for that team. Hopefully Richardson manages to stay healthy and Steichen doesn't run him into the ground. That's my only concern with their play calling over there, is that, they're, running him into the ground. I do not expect him to make it through the full season like that. I'm nervous about that, but I'm excited for the prospects of that team, and I did not foresee that being a possibility in the preseason. So, yeah.
Deshaun Watson just threw a pick 6 first play of the game.
Who did?
Deshaun Watson.
Of course he did. Good Lord.
And the Panthers are imploding. All right, should we move on?
Yep.
Next, we'll just go to your Kool-Aid. Packers Falcons. This was a weird one. It
was a beautiful one, man. It was a beautiful one. Arthur Smith and this beautiful Atlanta Falcons running game combined with an incredible D-line and the incredible play of this secondary. Surprise, AJ Terrell. What a comeback from what he went through last year, kind of a sophomore slump, to come in now. Huh?
Clemson legend, baby.
Yeah. Okuda, it's been awesome.
It really has been.
Huh?
I said it really has been.
It really has been. And, we were watching Panthers Saints earlier, and, it really looks like this is a team that has the ability to control the NFC South as long as they don't shoot themselves in the foot. And
still think
where that's going to happen is Desmond Ridder.
Well, yeah, that's our biggest problem.
Yeah.
I still think Desmond Ridder's a terrible NFL quarterback.
I would not argue with you on that statement after watching lots of Desmond Ridder yesterday. His ability to throw the ball accurately more than 10 yards seems to be a little bit of a struggle. They got Drake London and Kyle Pitts more involved yesterday, especially London, which was very good. And they needed to against what is a really solid still Packers defense. But it was their defense that really carried them, their ability to create turnovers. Their D-line is awesome too. Grady Jarrett, Calais Campbell, David Onyemata. They've
really
got
good
dudes, yeah.
It's been awesome. Bijan was awesome yesterday, too.
Bijan was awesome. Oh, my God. If there was ever going to be, he is the best running back talent that I've seen coming out of a draft. And I was a Penn State fan during the Saquon,
I still think Saquon was better.
I love him to death. I will buy his jersey once he's not a Giant anymore. But it's
I don't know, man. Saquon Barkley was drafted number 2 overall as a running back.
He was. And I think Bijan Robinson would have been in that era too. I think we've just kind of been scared away so much by the prospects of drafting a running back in recent years. But man, if anybody's worth it.
For the Falcons, I really think that the quarterback is going to be the downfall, if there is a downfall.
But if they're able to dominate pace of games, does it matter?
No, but eventually, if you're going to get the playoffs and try to contend, you're going to need experience. You're going to need a good pocket presence, and that just isn't Desmond Ridder.
We talked about it in our offseason pod, and I compared them to the 2021 Eagles, and you all laughed at me. But their ability to control pace of the game on both balls, dominate both lines, quarterback, which is probably what's holding them back, and, a kind of flawed secondary on the other side at times. But, huh?
Been 2 games.
It's been 2 games, but I foresee a similar outcome, and I'm excited about that. But I'm excited about Green Bay too, and I don't think any of this really is a total indictment on Green Bay either. I thought their defense played well for most of that game. I mean,
until they
shut down
imploded.
the passing game. Yeah.
Jordan Love's awesome.
Yeah. There were a couple plays where he showed kind of
the inexperience.
Yeah, the inexperience. There was that 4th and 1 with the ridiculous fumble, and there are a couple throws he'd probably want back. But
he is on pace for 51 touchdowns.
Yeah, and with that receiver,
plus the 3,500 yards.
Yeah, that receiver core was not good yesterday. I mean, they were really unable to create separation. Pretty much everywhere. It was. I think the rookie was who led them in receiving yards.
Wicks.
Who?
Contavious Wicks.
Yes, Contavious Wicks. That's his name. Christian Watson just hasn't been good so far this season.
Christian Watson hasn't played.
Christian Watson hasn't played?
No, he's been out.
And who am I thinking about?
Romeo Doubs, who was good.
Yeah, Romeo Doubs hasn't been good this season. Yeah.
He caught 2 touchdowns last week.
Romeo Doubs did?
Yeah, he went 5 receptions, 26 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Who am I thinking about?
I think Romeo Doubs. He's been ineffective, but he did score 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. And then after that, it's Jaden Reed. We love Jaden Reed on this podcast, but if he's your wide receiver 3, this is kind of a scary scenario. So I don't know what Green Bay does this offseason. Huh?
Look at Christian Watson back soon.
I know, but I there needs to be a point where this front office is willing to invest in a receiver, in which they haven't really since they re-signed Jordy Nelson like a decade ago. So, there needs to be a point where they do that. I mean, I guess we can say Devontae Adams, but they basically drafted Devontae Adams and then let him walk. So,
well, I don't know, man. Devontae Adams played on that team for a while.
Yeah.
Speaking of Mr. Devontae Adams, should we move on to Raiders Bills?
We can. Let's do it.
The Raiders look rough.
Yeah. I don't know how much this is an indictment of the Raiders and more just an absolute smackdown by the Bills. I think this is just the Raiders telling us they are who we thought they were.
Yeah. Jimmy Garoppolo was, fine.
Yeah. And he has been. I mean, I thought he was legitimately good in that Denver game. I think that Denver defense might be bad after watching Sunday.
Sam Howell's just him.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, they were really able to control the pace of the game. And as it turns out, that's really hard to do against the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, man. Definitely is. I mean, Josh Allen cooked.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of that's 3 interceptions last week. But, come on, guys. You guys really think I'm bad?
Yep. Did you see that throw? I mean, you watched. You saw the sidearm in between the guard and the center. There are just certain plays. Huh?
It happened at Buffalo Wild Wings, man.
Yeah. It's nuts. So.
Yeah. I mean, the defense was awesome.
Yeah.
Cook is awesome.
Yeah.
For 130 yards.
He did. Yeah. And it's still not. I wouldn't say it's still an efficient run game. I mean, I'm still worried. I mean, it's an awful Raiders rushing defense. I'm going to be honest. So.
Yeah. I like to be optimistic about James Cook. He was one of my guys in the draft last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted the Texans to draft him.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, there's so many backs on the market. I mean, Kareem Hunt's still sitting out there.
That's crazy.
I imagine, imagine him in that offense if he's actually in shape. So
he's definitely not.
He's definitely not, but still. And that defense was awesome on Sunday, and I thought they were, solid at points. I mean, for most of that game against the Jets, I think they just continued their strong performance.
I mean, it was just that ridiculous Garrett Wilson catch against the Jets.
Yeah.
That was the only touchdown they allowed, if I'm remembering right.
Yep.
It's not the defense's fault that.
Yep. Josh Allen turned the ball over 3 times. Yeah. But their pass rush has been much better than last year. I think Rousseau has improved a lot.
Definitely.
Their interior better too. I mean, Ed Oliver. Showed out in a couple games. So it's, there's improvement. Trey White is playing more like he actually should. As
Matt Milano, so good. Matt Milano is such a good linebacker.
Yep, I was so off the Matt Milano train 2 years ago, and the resurgent seasons that he had last year and this year, like, he's just awesome. And they lost Tremaine Edmonds.
Yeah,
that's how good he is. Like,
I mean, Leonard Floyd exists. People kind of forget he still lingers in the NFL, and he made an impact yesterday. So
he did. I hope he turns his career around.
Me too. He's just a prospect.
Yeah, I agree. But they're gonna be Buffalo. They're the same team they were last year. It's all gonna come down to, I mean, we're gonna get these Josh Allen games, and we're gonna get the ones we did last week, and it's gonna come down to whether Josh Allen can find really the balance that I thought he had established consistently throughout the early part of the 2022 season, until all their receivers got hurt and he decided to turn into a madman. He's kind of been that way ever since. So if he decides, that he's going to actually put faith in his weapons and not try to do everything himself, then I foresee them as a Super Bowl contender. If he's going to decide not to do that, then I foresee them losing the divisional round again. And I don't think there's much else to it, to be honest.
Yeah, quick note on the Raiders. Something needs to change on the defense because it's terrible. They want any chance of a playoff spot. They need to make a move.
There just needs to be a management change, man. It just.
I think a coaching change is necessary too, but you're not going to fire somebody mid-season and still try to make a playoff push like they did 2 years ago.
And you can't fire somebody mid-season who's making the money that McDaniels did. I mean, I thought McDaniels and the disaster that was last year was a fireable offense last year, but I was reading Peter King, and that contract that they signed, you can't get out of it. It's insane.
Stuck.
It's like all guaranteed, and like it's ridiculous. So I just don't foresee.
Yeah, it's a loaded offense.
Yeah, it really is. And Jacobs has not looked the same either. He's been incredibly inefficient over these first 2 games.
Yeah, well, he's running behind like death.
I know he is, but they're just pounding it into him. And I think, you give a guy, he had like 300 carries last year in a contract year. And so, I mean, this is the worry that we start to have about the running back market. He's kind of losing it. So,
yeah. He needs to trade.
Yeah.
He needs to be traded. Not because he's bad, but because he's just going to rot.
Yep.
If the Raiders are bad, he's not getting a deal next year. He's going to be like Kareem Hunt, just floating.
Yep.
Mindlessly in the free agent market.
Yeah, which for the NFL's leading rusher just a year ago, that's a pretty ridiculous thought to think about.
Speaking of the NFL leading rushers, should we talk about the former NFL leading rushers team, Tennessee Titans and Derrick Henry?
Why not, man? This was a pretty crazy game.
This game was a woozy, man.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert might be like, his best comparison might be Matt Stafford.
Yep. That throw where he was running backwards and he just swung it up and oh my God.
He needs out. I can't believe he signed an extension.
Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do about Staley. I don't know, what's the over-under on the week Staley gets fired? What are we taking on that?
3.
3? You think he gets fired next week?
He needs to be fired now, man. He needs to go now.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. It's crazy. And the defense sucks again. Their secondary is so bad.
For it to suck. I mean, you have J.C. Jackson.
J.C. Jackson's horrible, man.
I know.
He's so bad. I know. What?
Like, I'm reading Asante Samuel Jr., Derwin James, Kenneth Murray, Austin Johnson, J.C. Jackson, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. How is this defense as bad as it is?
Bad.
It has to be coaching. It has to be coaching.
I don't know what's up with Samuel either. I thought he took a step forward last year. I thought, at least in man coverage, he was nice, and he's just been burnt toast all year. Kenneth Murray has not lived up to his talent in any way. Derwin can't stay on the field, but when he has been on the field this year, he's been bad. It's bad, man.
Awful.
Bad. And they can't stop the run either. Like, that's probably the worst part. I mean, didn't the Dolphins had like
Dolphins ran Raheem
they
Mostert.
ran all over him. Yep.
It was horrible.
Yep. So I don't know what the solution here is. I mean, you fire Staley, but there's still, you've bought into this roster as a contender, and you have all these weapons. You supposedly have all the pieces, and you just can't do anything with them. I mean, if I looked at this team on paper, they'd be an 11-win team. What?
I think you do have the pieces. I think it's a defense. I think it's a coaching issue.
Yeah, man. How much can you put on one, play
I think
call?
it's the coaching staff.
Maybe. I mean, I think it could be a culture thing. I'm with you there. But it's just bad. It's bad.
This is rough.
Yeah. But to speak about Tennessee, I love their run defense still. I love their defense overall. I mean, I think if their secondary stays healthy, I mean, it's tough against the passing game that's that explosive. As the Chargers is, but I think they did an okay job, and they really did stop the run. I know Eckler was out, but they really did shut that down.
It did shut Joshua Kelly.
Yeah, just control the pace of the game, and we know that's what they're gonna do. I think they're again gonna be a sneaky team that wins 7 or 8 games and plays some really weird ones
I still think they're the worst team in the division.
I don't think so. I think they're better than you, and I think they might be better than the Colts.
I think insane.
I think they're another team who, I mean, if they contend for an AFC wild card, I don't know that that's the craziest thing in the world.
No.
Because they're just a tough, well-coached team that's going to win some games pretty off that. Now, I think Tannehill is horrible, and but I still don't think he's the solution. I think the passing game sucks. But they're such a weird old school football team, and they're going to, when we get to December and it's pouring rain and they're playing, I don't know, the Ravens, they're going to win some of those games.
You picked the worst team to compare that to, because you picked the only other team in the NFL that could run as well as the Titans.
I guess.
The Bengals.
We'll say the Bengals.
The Bengals, yeah.
You just don't know. They played the Bengals in 2 weeks, and I could not be more excited. I hope Burrow's healthy for that, and maybe that's a good segue. But
speaking of the Bengals,
this is bad.
Why did they rush Joe Burrow back? That was the worst idea they could have had.
It's just, we were all wondering last week. We were like, why has this offense all of a sudden just become so one-dimensional? Is it because of the worries with the protection? But, he turned it basically from this air raid Joe Burrow offense where you have Higgins and Chase and everybody's flying across the field into a West Coast offense all of a sudden. And we're like, Zach Taylor, what are you doing? And as it turns out, it's, the Bengals medical staff, which has changed the entire playbook for them. So it's insane.
I do. He needs to sit a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yep.
They might have ended the season before it even started.
Yeah, it's just, and it sucks because, I mean, I picked them as my Super Bowl team.
I did too.
I think this was probably, at least in the preseason, I know they cut Lyle Collins, who was a guy who I was looking to actually improve, so I was a little confused by that. But I thought this was a team, the best version of this offense we had seen yet, and the best version of this defensive line we've seen yet. And even outside of all the Burrow stuff that's been going on and all that, Anarumo has not looked the same, and this defense has been bad. They cannot stop the run. They were dominated by Gus Edwards and Justice Hill on Sunday, and they were dominated by Nick Chubb the week before. It is not pretty. in any way. So, I mean, I don't know what they're going to – they go against the Rams next week. And, I mean, we can laugh and joke about, they're going to trade Cam Akers. Is Kyron Williams going to dust them up? He probably will.
Will.
Yeah, like it's maddening to watch, a contender be mishandled so badly. And, we've all been talking about Zach Taylor for years as kind of, maybe an average head coach, but kind of the talent of this offense is what elevates them. This is an example of him actually, hurting this team in a possible way. And, you have to start to question if this is a team that misses the playoffs. What do you think about there? You just paid Joe Burrow, the second highest contract in NFL history behind another guy who's pretty ridiculous, and that just happened today. So, you have to find a way to make this work. And,
yes. And a team that is finding out a way to make
go from what we were talking about 2 weeks ago to this is pretty.
Yeah. But if you want to talk about a team that is making it work, holy crap, Baltimore is good.
They're good.
Awesome. Baltimore might be the best team in that division.
Yeah.
Baltimore might be the best team on the East Coast.
I wouldn't go there.
Baltimore might be the best team in the AFC.
No, I wouldn't go there either.
I'd give it a run. I think they'd give Kansas City a run for their money.
You're really all in.
Who else? I mean, who else is in the discussion in the AFC? The
Miami.
I think they run circles around Miami.
Really?
Well, I think Baltimore's a decent secondary.
I think Miami does too.
Okay. I don't think Miami can stop the run. I don't think they can stop.
I agree. I think the run is tough, but I think Baltimore has flaws in their secondary with the injuries they've sustained as well. I think, I think Sunday was less of an compliment to the Baltimore secondary and more an indictment of what's happened to the Cincinnati pass game.
Yeah.
Even though I do love their defense.
It's like stoppable though. Like I feel like they can stop Miami because like Miami, like the pass game was there yesterday. Like I said,
yeah.
And New England secondary.
I was encouraged by how the defense stepped up. I mean, I think that Patriots defense is just awesome, and I don't want to talk about that game before we get there, but it's like, I think that New England team's better than people think. But back to Baltimore, I'm worried about the offensive line. That's my biggest concern. Like Lamar was running for his life at times during that game. I saw a stat today that said he had the third least time out of any NFL starting quarterback in the pocket overall. So it's worrisome from my perspective. But
yeah, I know. I agree.
Yeah.
But like when he does have time, like that, he's flourishing. Like
yes.
He has weapons.
Yes,
I
agree.
Safe Flowers is awesome.
Yep. You said it at Buffalo Wild Wings. What'd you say? Adam, you got this one right. This is one you got right.
Right.
Yep.
But like that was Rashad Bateman was cool last week. Mark Andrews is finally healthy, and somehow Nelson Aguilar dotted up over the starting corner run.
They're fun, man. Todd Monken has brought this team into such a different direction from the read option, ground and pound, and then just the stale passing game. I mean, they have so much more. They can beat you in so many different ways.
Yeah.
The explosiveness and the creativity of this passing game.
Can Kansas City stop that?
I don't know. Do we want to talk about Kansas City now?
Talk about Kansas City now because I know it's week 2, but they look bad. They look pretty bad.
I think that defense looks good though, man.
I think the defense. I don't think the offense was very good.
Here's my thing. I watched this Chiefs team 2 years ago where we all collectively, had like a tantrum because
like 3 and 4
receiver core was horrible. And somehow this one is worse. And somehow I still have confidence that he's going to make it work because that's just who he is. It's Mahomes and Reed.
would always work.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me for it not to have a way. I mean, Tony's been horrible. But
Yeah.
Valdez Scantling has talents, I believe. I think Justin Watson has shown flat. Like, you just gotta reach because it's Mahomes and it's Reed, and you have the faith. And I don't know what tricks they have up at the deadline. What?
Sky Moore was cool yesterday.
Yep. And Kelsey wasn't good yesterday. Like, he still needs to adjust. It was his first game back. I think he was still recovering a little bit from what was his foot. Is that what it was? Or his back?
Half, maybe.
Half. Yeah. Whatever. But I think they'll adjust. And Chris Jones was awesome yesterday.
Yeah.
After not playing at any point. And the linebackers are good now, and the secondaries play. I mean, were you watching when they had that series in the red zone where they just forced well, it was first and goal. Jacksonville had first and goal at the 1 yard line. So false start. They were back to the 6. Trevor passed to Calvin Ridley. Can't get it to him. McDuffie forces him into the corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
Trevor passed to Zay Jones. Absolutely locked down by who's their slot corner? Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed. 3rd and 10, same thing. So on a drive that started at the 1, they couldn't score, and this is this explosive Jaguars offense. And I don't know whether that's an indictment of Press Taylor and their passing game, which, I mean, they've really struggled over these past 2 weeks with their pass game, and it is worrisome. But Kansas City did the same thing to Detroit 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, I have confidence in this Kansas City defense, probably the most I have in a long time. I mean, I know they were okay throughout the postseason run, but I think they're legitimately good this year. I think they have a chance to be a top 10 unit, and that's scary when you combine that offense. So, yeah.
Should we talk about some games that we can kind of quickly skim over?
Sounds good.
Time constraints. Bears Bucks.
Justin Fields is not it.
Justin Fields is not the answer.
Which makes me very sad.
Either that or Justin Fields or the Bears have a severe quarterback development.
Yeah, but I saw a stat today. It was the same graphic about offensive line protection. Justin Fields is the 3rd most.
Yeah. And
he's just unable to make quick decisions. And so that's really worrisome for me. Bucks defense is awesome, though. You're right. Linebacker core is so good. Yeah, Bucks defense. Their D-line.
Baker Mayfield was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he had that one catch, the Mike Evans throw, which was pretty nice. I'm still not sold. But
I'm not sold either, but I'm just happy to see him perform.
No, I'm happy to see him play well too. I agree.
He was doing so well in Cleveland, and then he just would not let himself recover from that shoulder. I think it was a shoulder injury he has played through, and he was terrible. And then it ended up with him leaving, and now we're here. And then he was terrible in Carolina because that was just an awful situation last year. And then he went to LA, where he kind of showed that he still had it. It was the end of the season, and nobody cared about the Rams because they were 5-11 or whatever. But nobody paid attention. He was solid, and now I'm happy. I'm just happy. He's one of my guys.
He'll be a good bridge quarterback to whoever they draft. He really will be.
And if they're going to draft someone,
Tampa?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Who are they going to draft?
I don't know. They're going to have a top 10 pick probably. But I still don't have faith in.
What are the chances Shador, Ewers fall out of the top 10?
Ewers, I think there's enough of a chance. I don't know about Shador, especially with the way he's playing right now. But, I mean, who knows? He still has yet to face one of these difficult. I mean, he plays Oregon this weekend, and I'm so excited because that is really the first, scary, test for him. So and without Travis Hunter too. So we're going to see how he makes that work. But, yeah, man, I like that Bucks team. They're fun. They're scrappy. I think of them similarly as I do to Tennessee. I would not be shocked if they snuck in and competed for a wild card just because it's weird. And a rainy game in December against the Saints.
I mean, they can
Who
contend with
knows?
the division, man. Like, it's a
Yeah.
bad division.
Yep. So
Here's another one we can skim fast. Cowboys Jets. The Jets season's before it started.
Cowboys have the best defense in the NFL, and it hurts me to say that, but they really do. All they needed was Gilmore.
Pretty good offense too.
Yep, but it's solid. It's enough that
it's a really good offense.
It's enough.
It's a really good offense.
It's enough.
It's a really good offense, Adam. You know it is.
It's enough.
I know you can't say two nice things about the Cowboys in one spot.
I can't. Dak has been really good. I'll give him credit for that. He's been awesome. And I mean, to be legitimate, I mean their ability to construct this pass game after the kind of free for all that was last year into a really systematic. I mean, McCarthy's been awesome as a play caller, and that's been shocking to me in every single capacity. Dak's been getting the ball out incredibly quick. CeeDee Lamb's having another ridiculous season. They fixed everything. They fixed everything, Mike, in 2 weeks. It's not fair. It's not kind to the rest of the NFC.
All right, here's another quick one. Do we need to say anything about the Jets?
We didn't say anything about Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's horrible.
Zach Wilson
I don't want to see Zach Wilson play another football game. Like,
it's over for them.
I feel bad saying that, but he was that bad. Like,
all right. Here's another one we can kind of quickly go over. Giants Cardinals. This game solidified that Caleb Williams will be an Arizona Cardinal.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, a lot of people were hooplying about the Giants after this, and I really don't understand that perspective. I mean, that first half of football is one of the worst halves of football I've seen in my life.
So.
And just they decided. I mean, it was the Jonathan Gannon defense breaking down, which made me giddy. The soft zone coverage eventually translated into a couple of Danny Dimes touchdowns, playing a lot of that infamous Jonathan Gannon off-ball cover 3 that has tortured us Eagles fans for eternity. But yeah, man, like they're not a good football team. Saquon's out for Thursday Night Football now. I was out for 3 weeks. And they are going to.
Oh man, they're terrible. They're so bad.
Yep, they're going to be horrible. Yep. It's bad. It's really bad. So, I mean, it's the same point. Who knows in a crowded NFC?
I know. It's not happening.
It's bad. And the defense is really bad too. Which, I mean, it's really just the interior defensive line that's the only highlight. So, Arizona, shout out to them for staying somewhat competitive in some of these games. I thought they looked great against Washington the other week. I think, maybe they fall back down to earth this week. But shout out to them for actually trying to win football games. So.
In case you care, the Phillies are beating Atlanta 7-1.
Of course. South again.
Seahawks. Good
awesome
game.
Incredible game.
Two awesome teams playing awesome game.
Explosive offenses just going to battle. And I think there's still definitely significant worries about the Seattle defense. I think the Lions secondary showed some flaws on Sunday that you might want to worry about a little bit. But
especially C.J. Gardner-Johnson out for the year.
Yeah, like that's terrifying, especially on the back end. But both passing offenses, like, incredible. For Geno to get back on track, wonderful.
Yeah.
Like,
Kenneth Walker was all right.
Yep.
I think this game, even though the Lions lost, I think this game kind of just solidifies the fact that they are. And I think also, I think this week in general solidified the fact that Detroit is the front runner in the NFC North.
I think so. I've thought that. I mean, we've both thought that since the beginning.
Yeah.
I
think Green Bay.
I still think it's going to be a tightrope race.
But I think win it by at least 2 games.
Yeah. I think Chicago being so bad helps us in making that. But I do think Packers-Lions, and I think they play week 4 or 5 in Detroit. I think that's going to be a throwdown, especially because I think, as young and inexperienced as Jordan Love is, I think he has added some elements to this offense that a 38-year-old Aaron Rodgers, while he was a better overall quarterback, I think the explosiveness of the run game that Jordan Love creates with his legs as well, and then carrying that into Jones and Dillon, I think they're a really fun offense. So I'm very excited to watch that game for sure.
Yeah, I'm also very excited to watch them play on Thanksgiving.
Would they play the Packers on Thanksgiving?
It will be the most exciting I've ever been to watch the Lions play on Thanksgiving.
Do they play the Packers?
Yep, 12:30.
Are you serious?
It's the opening game.
Wow. That might be the game. What are the other 2 games? Because that might be the game of the day.
I think the night game is good.
Yeah.
Cowboys play in the middle like they always do. I think
What are the
rules? What are the rules? It's the Lions and
Cowboys.
Cowboys always get the home game, right?
Yeah. Who does Dallas play?
Dallas plays Washington, which after this week,
that's also an awesome game.
A good game. And then it's 49ers Seahawks. Wow, that
Not bad at all.
That felt really good this time.
I still think Packers Lions is the best out of those 3 games.
Yeah, but I think both teams look great. 2 teams are definitely good. And they probably will meet again in the playoffs.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Yep.
All right, we got 3 more. Let's not rapid fire, but let's get some stuff.
Yeah.
49ers Rams. I don't have much to say about the Rams except for
Stafford has revitalized his career.
Stafford. Well, I don't think he was ever gone. I just think he was dealing with injury last year.
Yep.
But Stafford's awesome. Nick Chubb is awesome. And when Cooper Cubs comes back, I think you have the argument that 3 teams from this division will make the playoffs.
Yeah.
It could.
It could happen. And I think, the Rams' slaughter of Seattle was a massive statement throughout the entire NFC. So, I mean, as of right now, I'd have them as a contender. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the 49ers were awesome, as they always are.
Purdy showed the steps that I was looking for him to show this offseason.
Yeah, and he didn't have any touchdowns, but he didn't really have touchdowns.
He didn't need to. I mean, he's shown a lot of mobility in the pocket. He's shown to have better decision making, I felt like, and he really hasn't had to do, too much. But what he's done has been awesome. So I am up on the Brock Purdy stock, Mike. For the first time in a long time, I'm back home on the train.
Good. And I think the defense was awesome. McCaffrey was awesome. O-line was good.
Of course.
Exactly what you expect from the 49ers, right?
Yep, of course.
Here's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Commanders, Broncos.
This was a roller coaster of emotions. And I don't really know. It's hard to come out of it with a lot of things without, overreacting, because both these teams are weird. But the first thing I would say is the Bieniemy run Commanders offense is awesome.
Yeah.
Howell played an incredible game to come back. Dotson is incredible. The run game, B-Rob stepped in and played a huge role in that comeback. They're really cool, and I think the defense will get it together.
Brian Robinson's has been this season. I mean, Sam Howell's awesome. Yep. Sam Howell might be him. I don't know, but he might be him.
He might be. I don't know.
He's looking really good.
I'm so interested to watch them play Buffalo next week.
Me too. I think Sam Howell. I mean, I don't think they. I feel like they have Sam Howell for a reason.
Yeah, they might. They really might. Especially if it looks like it did Sunday. So I'm really excited to watch him play a really good NFL defense for the first time. So, and then Denver, I just don't know what's up with that defense, man. They lost Ahiro Evans, and they're just broken. Like, it doesn't make sense. Outside of Surtain, the left side of the field in the secondary is terrible. D-line can't create any pressure. I know they traded Chubb, but they still signed Zach Allen. Like, bad. It's really bad.
It's bad. It's also just like Russell Wilson has been good.
He's been okay. I wouldn't go as far as good, but I mean that throw at the end of the game, like, oh my god,
It's awesome.
They still should have.
Yesterday was the closest we've seen to seeing vintage Russ.
Yes,
that we had at all during his tenure with the Broncos.
Really
Broncos should be 2-0.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it comes down again to discipline. And I really thought that was something that would change under Sean Payton, but the unforced errors by this football team are just absurd. I mean, they missed the Raiders game, they missed like 3 field goals. This game, there were so many dumb penalties throughout.
Can't blame missed field goals on Sean Payton. I mean, it's Will Lutz. He's one of the best.
It's just the discipline and the coaching of this team. It's just like, it's the little stupid things, and they've consistently been losing on that for about a year and a half now. I mean, look at the amount of one-score games that they lost last year, and it's like absurd. Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's something.
I do think it's a team that gets better as the season goes on, but it's such a competitive AFC. You're looking at like they might end up being good. They could win like 9 games, but that won't be enough in the AFC.
Well, and that's what we were talking about was, has the culture changed to the point where they can win 9 games and turn it around? And from what I've seen with, their overall discipline throughout the course of this season so far, I would not. I would argue.
I agree. I think the offense is.
Besides Russ.
I think the offense is decent.
Yeah, I agree.
Russ is cool, but it
would help to improve their receiver core. But I think they're really solid, and I think they can, compete in games. It's just like, what's happening here?
It's very confusing.
Yeah, it's a boogeyman.
And then the nightcap. Dolphins. Yep. What a way to end the day.
Yep.
Game.
Yep. I mean, we alluded to this, but both defenses, the performance, absolutely incredible.
I agree.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. I mean, Xavier Howard, to have the game that he did, Kader Kaho, the entire Dolphins defensive line as well. And then for Tua just to make the plays in the right moments for them to kind of lead their way throughout this game. I mean, that late quarter drive, you had the 40-yard Raheem Mostert run, but that was set up by 2 incredible Tua passes on 3rd down that kind of put them in that position. I'm worried about Jalen Waddle. He's concussed now, apparently. So that's worrisome. And that offensive line is still concerned. Yeah.
Who do they play next week?
They play somebody who's not good.
They play Denver next week.
Yeah.
With that defense, is Jalen Waddle being missing really going to be that big of a factor? I don't think it is.
Probably not. Yeah. But they're going to be a contender, man. I really think so. I think the creativity of McDaniel, they went to the wire with Buffalo last year with Skylar Thompson, and we all talked about that. As long as they can stay healthy, I think they can contend in this AFC.
I think Miami wins the division.
I think so too. I agree. But if you throw Bills Dolphins in a playoff matchup, and I don't know what Josh Allen I'm getting, I might pick Miami.
I think I pick Miami either way.
Really?
I just think it's just hard because I don't know what's going on with Tua's health.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that holds me back from possibly telling you this team can win the AFC. If Tua stays healthy, they can win the AFC.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, if the Bengals are really looking as bad as they are, I think the only 3 teams that have a legit chance are not the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Dolphins.
You're not counting Buffalo.
I don't know. It just depends.
I think their ceiling is it, man. I really do. I think it all comes down to Allen, and for some reason, I have faith.
No, I do too. I agree with you.
It's that playoff game from 3 years ago that's held over all of our heads, but it's something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
I do.
yeah.
Well, Tua was awesome. Raheem Mostert is reviving his career that was never really existed in the first place, but
Yep.
like wow.
Yeah, they're awesome. And I don't think New England is bad. I don't. Like,
I
I'm
think they
holding on
are,
to it.
but
I
like
think their offense is bad, but I think that defense is awesome. And I think Mac Jones has not been that bad. I'm gonna say it.
I'm gonna say he has not been that bad.
I agree.
This is their 8 yards or shorter. I think you've looked at both games they played this season. I think his inability to throw the ball downfield is a glaring problem.
Well, but I'm gonna go back to that offensive line graphic, and they were bottom 5. It's rough. Like both guards.
Also, there were multiple throws yesterday.
Yeah.
He had time in the pocket, and he could have made a throw that changes the game.
Yeah.
And he couldn't. It was. I remember it. Kendrick Bourne was wide open. I don't remember where exactly in the game it would have been, but Kendrick Bourne would have. It would have changed the game, and it was 5 yards over. It was uncatchable.
Yeah. Well, it's also the problem of your receiver core being Kendrick Bourne, and
But I don't think Kendrick Bourne's bad.
It's just not pretty, man. It's not. Hunter Henry's been cool, but like,
I'm not giving it as an excuse for Mac Jones. I still don't have it.
Yeah, I understand, but I think we have to wait out a full season, and again,
I give it to him the end of last year.
Huh?
He was decent to end out last year.
Yeah.
And he was decent. He was okay last week.
Yeah.
I mean, he really just benefits from the screens and the 5-yard outs turning into 20-yard passes, 20-yard passes because somehow Kendrick Bourne breaks up field.
They've lost 2 games this year, man, and both have been on the last possession.
Oh, so I know.
I'm just like, I can't give up on them yet. I think they win next week. They play the Jets, and I don't know why they wouldn't.
New York. I mean, no, it's in New York.
Oh, it is in New York? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have my like real opinion on Mac Jones. If he struggles against the Jets, then we'll have a problem. If he can't figure out
defense.
What?
It's a good defense.
But like secondary wise,
they're gonna have a long time of possession. I'll give you that. But it is a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know how much I trust it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't either, but I feel confident enough in that defense and their ability to control the pace of games that I can put enough games. That's my theory.
Yeah, I agree, but I still think that, until you have a, legitimate quarterback. And like, could Mac Jones succeed in a different area? Maybe.
I don't know. I think this is pretty much. I think if you put weapons around him, similar to how you did in that first year in New England, I think that might be the ceiling of Mac Jones.
Like, I still just don't think Mac Jones was good that first season.
I thought he was good. I thought he was a top upper half NFL quarterback.
What?
Upper half.
He was not that good.
Pretty good.
No, he wasn't.
Pretty good.
No, he wasn't.
But their run game was so efficient that, what he had to actually do was not substantial. So,
he wasn't that good.
We won't bore you with more Mac Jones. It's been an hour. But we will be back, of course, as always, with more info content. You have one prediction for this weekend you want to give us before we head out of here?
Yeah, let me look at the game. Texans beat the Jaguars.
That's your
No.
bold prediction?
No, my bold prediction is C.J. Stroud throws for 350 yards again.
Okay.
Against the Jaguars secondary.
Okay.
And Nico Collins goes for another 100 yards.
Okay.
That's
My bold prediction will be that if Anthony Richardson plays, Ravens-Colts is the game of the weekend and becomes an absolute bloodbath.
I can see that one. I'll give you that.
Yep. That'll be it. So, thank you as always.
Been fun.
Listening, and we will be back soon with more football, because who doesn't love more football?
Who doesn't
And
think about football?
who are we firing?
Daryl
Fire
Morey.
Daryl again? Well, we're going to continue to fire Daryl, because why not?
Well, hold up. It's a football episode. Let's fire Josh McDaniels.
Let's fire Josh McDaniels. We are firing Josh McDaniels.
Fire Josh McDaniels. Didn't want to say fire right there. I want to say something else.